We probably have 20 different countries represented. In terms of gender, we're mixed. In terms of ethnicity, we're mixed. Any way you would measure diversity, it's a microcosm. There's no one place for the eye to rest where you could say everybody is this way. It's just the religious backgrounds, there's the whole gamut. Political identity, there's the whole gamut, though potentially a little bit more conservative. When I came in, it was an organization that had been successful for decades. There was no agenda to come in and fire everybody and start fresh. We were just going to invite what was possible, and I knew that we could do that with the same people in the building, that wasn't going to be, there was nothing limiting about that. So one of the ways we got people out of their old comfort zone, and in some cases they'd been doing the same thing for decades, was question everything. People got a little wild with that. It was where there hadn't been that sense of permission and freedom, perhaps ever in their adult work life. All of a sudden, we swung out wide in the other direction just to invite people to come forward. We wanted everyone to feel comfortable to share what they didn't know was the best thing, that they shouldn't have to prejudge it, that they could have a wondering or a sense of things and speak it, and that they would be well received for doing so. And that took a long time to for them to unlearn that. Maybe that's part of one of the first things of the unframing behavior, which was you can be who you really are and say what's coming through you, and there is nothing to fear in that expression. You don't have to know you're right. You don't have to worry about being right. Now that we have everybody talking, communicating, sharing, relaxing into possibilities of potential that were never discussed before or even potentially thought of, how do we channel that in the most successful way, in the way that the aliveness of the organization and the people in it and the people who are touched by it are eminently served? The engine for the organization and for our choices has really been that C4 energy, which is creativity, consciousness, community, and collaboration. And in a way, it's a litmus test for how we discuss anything, from leadership to manufacturing to strategic planning for the future, to cost management, to workflow management. It always comes back to that. And we arrived at that language collaboratively. It's such a diverse group of people, but yet those 4 words mean something to every single person in the building. And every one of them has been invited to embody what is most meaningful to them in that landscape. We're inviting the uncensored and unfettered what really is coming through someone. And the more we can connect at that place, that is just magical. We actually see people into their potential all the time. We see it beyond how they have perhaps seen themselves. There are people who've had 3 titles in the past gaggle of years as they're discovering who they are and who they could be to the system. And sometimes it's radically unexpected. That's all the invitation has been, to be whatever's true for you. We're in this space between what we have been and what we're becoming. And everything about what we're becoming is already here. And we're finding our way to being in conscious relationship to that. So maybe we're finding our way to relaxing into our knowing. And what happens as that occurs is that our choices change dramatically. How we communicate with one another changes dramatically. The essence of how we see ourselves and one another changes dramatically. And so, of course, the nature of business changes dramatically. We didn't do it with deep pockets, which is also, I think, a specific experience. A lot of places might have gotten funding, venture capitalist funding dropped into the system and suddenly had millions of dollars to hit this reset button. I didn't do that. We didn't do that. I couldn't find a resonant source of funding. I didn't want to have anything put restraints on what was occurring here. There's something a little bit to pay attention to there, because that's actually the exercise that's afoot for so much on the planet right now. Once we are free from the stories of the past, the history, we get to hold it in our awareness, but we don't have to be defined by it. And once that happens, then there are a lot of ways we do things that actually are only an accommodation to that past and don't necessarily begin to address who we really are and what we're choosing to collectively create together now. We're so in the frequency of the new, but haven't entirely given over to it. So these structures have some use still, but I don't have any sense of things having to look anything like it does today. I mean, 5 years from now, the organization could look completely different. But I'm open to something far more radical because the beingness demands it.
There is so much awesomeness captured within these walls. I can't really even begin to express it all.
It's about people's lives, and it's about what's important to people.
I think if you're not an honest, upfront, caring individual, you wouldn't survive here.
Love, care, authenticity, fun, kindness, all those things are true and real here.
There's a sense of unconditional. There's no judgment passed in the building, right? There's no sort of preconceived notions or stereotypes of how one should be.
Everybody's treated as an equal here. Whether you work in the warehouse, on the shipping dock, in the office, if you're in customer care, or if you're in the IT department, they treat everybody the same.
Like I was before, very quiet, and people around bring you out of the box.
If people met us, they would know that we are who we say we are.
The whole is more than the sum of its parts.
It's inspirational, I guess, to walk through the doors and feel the love that you feel from the people around you. That's our community. Pretty cool. That's good stuff.